Hey freedom fighters, it's Natalie Sisson, and would you like to learn how to self-publish like a pro and follow your dreams and be a married couple with luggage who has an incredible life? Then I've got the podcast episode for you.
Do you want to build a business you love from anywhere? A few years ago, Natalie Sisson was working in a 9-to-5 job, feeling trapped and uninspired. Now she's a suitcase entrepreneur who travels the world, having crazy cool adventures while running her online business from her laptop. Every Monday, she reveals how you can do the same right here on the Suitcase Entrepreneur podcast. And now, here's your delightful Kiwi host, Natalie Sisson.
In this week's episode, I'm talking with the one and only Warren and Betsy Talbot, all about what made them leave their 9-to-5 jobs and go nomad. The lessons they've learned about traveling and constantly being with your partner and how it's affected their approach to business, what they've learned about fighting, and a few how-to tips for traveling couples in business. Plus the revenue streams that allow them to live and travel the world, and so much more. Before we jump into this episode, I'd love for you to check out 99 Designs, especially if you're sick and tired of your boring logo. If it's not captivating the essence of your business, then you should turn to 99 Designs to help. Your logo is your company's signature. It should tell the whole story of what you do in just a few words and an image. And before you start working on your logo, if you haven't got one already, our friends at 99 Designs recommend that you nail down your brand's voice and personality. And then your logo can accurately reflect those things. Is your company fun? Is it traditional? Is it quirky? And then you can create a design brief on 99 Designs, share that with a community of thousands of designers, help them to help you make your logo amazing, choosing the colors, fonts, and symbols that best represent your personality, launch your logo contest, and in just days, you'll probably have the perfect logo. If you go to 99designs.com/suitcase, you'll get a $99 power pack of services free, which means that your listing and your project is going to get way more prominence. You're going to get huge increase in percentage chances of getting your dream logo. So 99designs.com/suitcase. Check them out and support them. They're our key sponsor here on the Suitcase Entrepreneur podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Suitcase Entrepreneur podcast, where we're all about creating freedom in business and adventure in life. And this episode, which is episode 105, I can't believe it, is going to be absolutely stellar. And I know why, because I have the wonderful Betsy and Warren Talbot on, who are going to talk all about being married with luggage. I know that most of you out there have been saying, Natalie, we need more guests who are married or have kids or who are doing this differently to you, and love to learn all about their lifestyles and businesses. So welcome on the show.
It's great to be here. A real pleasure.
Now, we've been having a few giggles before we got started here. So I think you're drinking wine in Spain right now in your new place that you've set up in a village of 500 people. Is that right?
That is correct. We are enjoying a little bit of wine that doesn't cost hardly anything, which is one of the really great joys of being in Spain.
Yeah,
Good
this
wine at a low
this
price.
is happy hour. We just happen to be talking to you. It's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you for scheduling this during happy hour.
I feel like I should have a wine, but actually I was just having my breakfast smoothie. So we're in slightly different parts of the world. And I do love how cheap the wine is in Spain. And actually you two inspired me, because when I was there recently, earlier this year, you guys had already bought your house, you were renovating it, and I was following your journeys, watching your videos, and just really impressed that you guys had gone and invested in some real estate there. And so we can totally touch on that, because then I got about looking at real estate as well. But first of all, I'd love to dig into your story. For those who are listening, my freedom fighters out here would love to know more about your story, and we can delve more into it as we go. But just a little background on who you guys are and what you do.
Yeah, so we're authors. We are from the United States. We left to kind of pursue our dream and passions in 2010. We sold everything and took off to explore the world. It was kind of a wake-up call that occurred a few years before that, when Betsy's brother had a heart attack, and a very dear friend of ours had a brain aneurysm, and both of them recovered eventually. But at that moment when all of this happens, we questioned what's most important in life, and why aren't we doing it?
And that's when we asked ourselves the question, what would we change about our lives if we knew we wouldn't make it to our 40th birthdays? And at that moment, we were 37, and we said, we travel the world. So that's what we did.
So we've been married for now a little over 10 years and been together about 13. And we just are enjoying every moment of going out and going after what we like most. We have discovered a lot about our relationship and about ourselves as we traveled the last 4 years. And it has been a fantastic, amazing journey, both in terms of what we've seen and in terms of the adventure that we've been on together, because I can't imagine doing it without Betsy. It's just, to me, that's why it's so important to me, is to be able to share it with her. And the two of us having the same dream and making it happen means the world to me.
You know, that was the funny thing about going on this journey, is we expected this grand adventure and all these fantastic experiences, which do happen, but we never in a million years thought that our relationship would transform the way that it has. I mean, it's incredible. And it's been difficult, but it's been very rewarding.
And from a pure business perspective, we both had, I had a corporate job. I worked for a technology company, had been in that field for about 20 years and left that in order to go after this, because I knew that no matter what I did, that constant chasing of, the money for and waiting to retirement, I realized when we had these illnesses and so close to us that I couldn't predict the future, and I wasn't going to waste another day not going after what I wanted most.
And I had already been doing some consulting after a career in corporate America. And so I had already tasted a little bit of freedom, even though we were still living in the same place and had our same life. And I could see that there were possibilities. And, it was a leap of faith, but I'm glad we took it.
So now, kind of coming to the present, we are now both 43. I just caught up to Betsy. She's older than me, by the way.
Shut up.
And so we're 43, and we've published 4 books, and we make our money by writing and online, and we can do that from wherever. So when we bought this house in Spain, it was to keep inspiring us and to give us a place to continue to write our story from.
Awesome. Well, that's the podcast done, because I think I've got everything. No, I'm just kidding. That was amazing.
Done. Talbot out.
I love the way you guys...
If you ever get people on your podcast that don't talk, we're not those people.
I know. I was just thinking how beautifully you overlapped. You're clearly like a couple very, very much in sync. And I love how much energy you give out and how much you're obviously enjoying in your life. But I'm sure it wasn't easy. And there's so many questions that I could start with. But first off, I'm actually just going to focus a little on, this is a biggie for me. I'm obviously single, so I don't have to deal with this, but I've definitely traveled with friends before, and I've traveled with previous partners. And I think traveling with somebody gives you so much insight into the person that they are, because you get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. You get to see them in the best times, the stressful times, the precarious times, the unsure times. So just for those of people listening who have a partner or in life, or just, dating somebody even, what would you say have been the biggest challenges and learning lessons for you as a couple that you wouldn't have expected when you set out on your travels?
Oh, gosh. I think you underestimate the amount of time that you will be spending together. And not only that, often it will be in just one room. And I'll tell you a funny story about this. We got into a big fight at our first location in South America. We had been there for a few weeks, and we were in this space, and the only actual wall was a curtain. And I got really mad, and I really wanted to slam a door, and I couldn't. All I could do was slam the curtain, which is not nearly as satisfying. But what happens is you're together all the time. You have to learn how to be together. And not only that, I think you have to bring a lot of the politeness back into your relationship that wasn't there before. And you'll find out quickly if that other person is willing to go halfway to meet you there. I think that's it's really important. It's also a great way to find out if the other person is willing to work with you on a problem, to come to a solution, to not focus on the blame game and get you out of a situation, because it's not like at home. I mean, it's a different language. It could be a precarious situation. It could be totally weird, and you've got to have someone on your team.
But I think what I found out most was our personalities are different, and what I found was that is obvious, and that's something that most people would agree to. But when you spend so much time, it becomes glaringly obvious. And what I wasn't aware of is how that difference of personalities meant that we approach problems differently. And so what happened, and it was about 3 years into our travels, when I realized that Betsy was an introvert, which meant not that she was shy, but that she gets her energy from the idea of being alone, spending time alone, whether that be writing, whether that be reading, but kind of away from me. And I get my energy by being next to her. And so for 3 years, I've just been yapping in her ear saying, hey, come on, let's do something fun. And then let's talk about it. And then let's talk about talking about it. And I think that was the piece that was the revelation that I had that is, and we wrote about this extensively in our latest book. And that revelation to me changed everything I thought about our partnership.
Well, I think it works in both our relationship and in our business. You have to know both the skill set and the weaknesses of your partner, and you have to know the style of your partner so that you can sort of bridge the gaps and know what to expect. Because if you expect the other person to be just like you, whether it's in your relationship or in your business dealings, you are going to be disappointed. And oh my God, thank God they're not like you, because think about being with your twin.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Actually, just reminded me of when you said you had that big fight when my sister came to see me in Argentina in 2011, which was my first I'd been traveling. That was the start of my suitcase entrepreneurship. And within a day of her being there, we'd had a massive fight, and I'd actually made her cry. And she's older than me. I felt really bad. And we just had to have this blowout, I think, because what I realized is she'd come all the way over to visit me, and then we were going to spend the next 4 weeks traveling and we did the W Trail in Patagonia and had an amazing time. But we just fundamentally didn't really know each other. And even though we were sisters, we'd spent quite a lot of our teenage years and on apart. And I realized that, we're sisters, but we weren't necessarily friends, and we had to literally get to know each other again. So we'd build over all our, we got on so well when we were young. But then I realized, you know what, you've just come into my world and I don't know you that well. And you're expecting me to be like the sister I was, and I'm expecting you to be this person. And so I totally know where you're coming from. And after that, we cleared the books and we got to learning about each other again and really discovering each other. So I'm sure you guys have gone through a lot of that as well.
Yeah, and the importance of just opening up the lines of communication. And sometimes that takes a huge fight. For us, it was in Scotland, and we fought. We got off a bus, and the bus dropped us 12 miles or about 16, 17 kilometers away from where we were going to be, and we were just going to walk back. And there was nothing. It was just the two of us, and we got into a fight a kilometer into the walk, and oh my God, we fought forever. But after that, like you said, you have this moment, you talk through it because you can't fight for hours. You get tired.
Exactly. And I think you get down to the true, what is the problem here, or what is the issue, and you learn so much about each other. And as you say, you start to realize what were her benefits of being with me on the travel. Where was she really good at, maybe asking directions or getting the most out of people? She was really good at making friends with strangers on the way. That's what she said. And I was good at organizing and getting the directions out of people and creating opportunities. So I love that you guys have had those moments, and it's not all been smooth sailing. That's a new word. Sailing.
Smooth
sailing is like with smoothies on a sailboat. It's a new trend.
We've fought so much that we actually have this system. I mean, I think we are the best fighters in the world.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are. Yes,
Come
we are.
on. No, we're not. All right, you're right.
No, really, we have learned how to fight fast, and that has helped us both in our personal life and in our travels and in our business.
In our business, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. And so your latest book as well, let's just talk about that briefly, because I love the Married with Luggage, What We Learned About Love by Traveling the World. I noticed on your About page, you also have, is this the same book or is this different? The 24/7 Relationship, How to Live, Work, or Travel Together Without Killing Each Other.
Oh my gosh, now you caught a mistake. How could you do that to us so publicly? No.
Well, now you just have to write that book too.
The book was initially going to be the 24/7 Relationship, and obviously one of us missed that. And it needs to be corrected.
But the idea was, when we originally started the idea for the book, it was spending 24/7 with your partner creates kind of this micro laboratory of inspection and fighting and tension and wonder that doesn't occur typically in a relationship where you're only spending maybe 5-6 hours a day. We spend every day together, and there were a lot of lessons that were learned during the course of that. So the idea is that by putting your relationship on fast forward, you spend so much time. We wanted to share those lessons of what we had learned without killing each other over the course of this last 4 years.
We clocked a lot of hours in our relationship and in working together. And we felt like, even though, we've been married for 10 years, it's almost 50 years in some measurements if you put the hours together. And so there were some great lessons that we wanted to share, but we didn't want to write a how-to book. So we just wrote about our adventures and literally how it happened as we were going going through these
tell our
adventures.
stories and the funny things that happen along the way, from being stuck in Turkey at the top of a cliff to, riding out a Force 12 storm from Antarctica and then taking that same ship all the way to England because Betsy had a dream. And I was able to make it happen. And so it's just our story and the lessons that we learned along the way. And we enjoyed being able to tell it. And we actually read the book to each other and encourage couples that do buy the book to read it to each other because we found it incredibly romantic ourselves. And you'll laugh, you'll cry,
You sound like a movie trailer.
I do. In a world where Warren and
dramatic. Well, I love both book titles, and even though it wasn't a how-to book, and I love that you've been able to share your stories and you read it to each other, if you were going to give people some how-to tips, it's hard enough living and working, I think, on the road. I love it, but it takes a certain type of person. So what would be your 3 top tips for those couples considering traveling the world and working together? Because they're two totally different things.
First thing is that you have to define and separate responsibilities. If you overlap with each other, what will happen is that you will be fighting constantly about control. And so I think the first step is to identify what those roles are, what you're each good at and what you love, and then assign those individually. Like you said with your sister, she happened to be really good at reaching out and meeting people. Great, go and do that. And I'm going to organize, and plan our time around Argentina, for example.
Yeah, because we write books together, but we certainly don't sit there and write every single word together.
And you write the story.
No. We each have jobs within that. So that's really important. The second thing I would say is to assume the best intentions. So it doesn't matter if you're getting feedback on a work project, if you're getting, a critique about anything, even, anything. How to hike up a mountain. We get that one a lot. But if you're getting that kind of feedback, you have to assume the best intentions. That person is not being a jerk. He's not trying to be mean to you. He's trying to give you some feedback, and you have to assume it with the best intentions. Separate your ego from the feedback that you're getting and learn to give it as well, because you're not going to have a successful time together on this journey. And you're not going to have successful business projects if you aren't able to give each other the kind of feedback that you need to be successful, to be safe, and to be happy.
And then I would say the third thing is that celebrate the small things. Don't just celebrate the big accomplishments, but celebrate the small things that your partner does for you in the business. So if they finish a project on time, thank them for it. Say please when you ask them to do a task. Your partners, in every respect, and being nice to each other goes far beyond the big grand gestures. The daily things of just walking up and holding the person's hand, your partner's hand, and saying, thank you so much for taking the time to make that website look really good. Or, thank you so much for taking the time to, schedule and put together that entire event. Those things mean a lot to you individually. And I think that it also helps your relationship and your partnership in business.
Yeah, when you go off on a trip like this and you're living in small spaces and you're constantly traveling, the things that weren't so important before in your life, saying thank you and please and doing nice things for each other, it becomes really important in this lifestyle. And you have to go that extra mile to do it. And it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, I love that. Well, beautifully, succinctly put. You can't have succinctly. I can't speak today, apparently. It must be the food poisoning.
That's fine. It's fine. I think you're good.
And no one ever called us succinct.
You smooth sailed through that.
So I love this because I get asked this a lot. So I'm going to ask you guys, I'm sure you do as well. What does a typical day, which will probably never be typical, look like for you two? As in who works on what and kind of just talk me through your day.
It depends on where we are. So if we are here in Spain, it means we're typically working on a writing project. And so those days we get up and the first thing that we do is we go for a walk together. Walking to us is the place that we feel the most connected with ourselves, with us individually. I feel connected with myself when I'm out there. And then it is the place where we talk through what's coming up in the day.
It's also important to get your exercise done early in the day, because if you make your living online, it's easy to park your butt on the seat and do your work all day long. And before you know it, you wake up and you've gained 10 pounds and you wonder where that happened. Mm-hmm. And so it's really important to get your exercise done early in the day because it also stimulates your mind, I think. So there's that. But we do a lot of writing here when we're at the house in Spain. We also record our podcast. So today we had 3 interviews.
But a typical day would be that we always have breakfast together. We have breakfast and we have coffee, and that's where we just talk. We just connect, and we talk about what's going on. How did you sleep? We talk about dreams. We talk about just our relationship, and then it morphs
And our task for the day.
the task for the day.
Yeah.
And that's usually the last thing that we do. And then we separate, and we go to different floors and work. We each write, and then we hold each other accountable, and then we get together, and usually we'll go for tapas for lunch. And some wine, because we live in Spain and you have to have wine at lunch. It's kind of a law. And then the rest of the afternoon usually will be either us relaxing and enjoying some time, practicing Spanish and expanding that. And
nice.
I think after that, it's, fun evening.
Yeah. And when we're traveling, it's a little bit different. Obviously, we're in different places. We just finished a 6-week book tour for the Married with Luggage book. And so we were constantly on the move, every 3 days. We
And
were in a
what
new
it's like,
city.
Natalie,
Yeah.
everything's different. You can't,
Totally.
There's no way. But I would say that we're morning people, so we start our days early. And if we can do it, we will always walk first thing in the morning, usually right as the sun comes up.
Beautiful. I love that.
I would say that one thing that's really great about our days is because we do travel so much, we've become really good at making the most of the situation we're in. I mean, we also have a podcast, and there are times when, like right now, we're in our studio, everything's great, it's all set up, no big deal. But when you're in a place in Budapest and you're staying at this kind of hinky little apartment, and you've got to, put a blanket over your head, put pillows around the microphone, and do this sort of weird scenario just to get your weekly podcast out. But what I love about this is that we have this sense of teamwork and adventure where it's not really a drag. It's kind of fun.
It's fun. Yeah.
And we problem solve really well together.
Yeah, I can actually hear that. And you know what? I totally agree with you on the podcasting thing. And I've kind of started embracing if there's a cow in the background, if there's a vacuum cleaner, like I interviewed Srini Rao a while back in a Melbourne hotel foyer, and somebody started vacuuming around me, and that was the only place I could get the internet. And I was like, well, we're just going to run with this. So, if the people next door start doing their renovations, that's all part of it. And that's what location independence is about. People shouldn't expect perfection and to have a perfect studio set up. So I love that.
I think that's
really
a great point about business on the road anyway, is that done is better than perfect. And so many people that we meet have a business idea and they keep honing it and trying to make it perfect until they're in the right spot to launch it, to do it. And we're just looking at them saying, you were ready 6 months ago. What are you waiting for?
And when you travel, it puts you in that position to where it's never perfect. You never have the ideal situation to record a podcast or to write or to create the things that you want. But that's the difference, is that when you come out here, it's just constantly every day waking up and making it happen, because this is the life that you want. This is the life you desire. And so you have to work for it, and you can't wait for perfection, or you'll be back at home, wherever that is, back at the job that you're at now.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think a lot of people underestimate what it takes to do this. And I think actually traveling and running my business on the road has made me a better business person. It's made me more productive, more organized, and more disciplined, because I really strive for freedom. And I look at other people and as you say, they're like, oh, I'm going to do it when I've quit my job, or when I've saved enough, or when I've, all these ducks are in a row. And I was like, well, that will never happen. You've just got to take the chance and do it now. And you actually learn along the way and create your own systems and ways of doing things that you never would have had you waited for everything to line up.
There's a great quote by Guy Kawasaki, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I never remember the exact words, but he wrote in his book, Rules for Revolutionaries, the successful businesses release shitty products, but they are committed to making them less shitty over time. And that is like your dream. Your dream is just there. It's not fully fleshed out. You don't know all the answers, because you never will, especially if your dream is to travel the world and start a business. Mm-hmm. What you need to do is to do it, get as far along as you can, but remain committed to constantly evolving on that business, working on it every day, and making it into whatever it is that it will become, because what you want it to become is going to deviate very wildly from what it is today.
Well, and that's the thing, just like the book that we just published this year, it's our 4th book, and we did a lot of writing before that. Had we not started doing that little bit of writing and putting it out there and getting the feedback and honing our craft, we would have never gotten to the point of putting out the book that we did this year, which we're super proud of. And I think that's true for anyone, no matter what you're doing. You have to start by looking stupid and doing really crappy stuff and letting other people see it.
Mm-hmm. I love that actually. And let's talk about your books, which I'll link to in the show notes, which will be across at suitcaseentrepreneur.com/105. So I love the 4 books. You know, you've got Dream, Save and Do, an action plan for dreamers. Big topic that a lot of people, you know, think that traveling is way more expensive than it actually often is. Getting rid of it, eliminate the clutter in your life. Love it. Obviously, we've done a great job of doing that, but I forget that other people can't always kind of do that, right? It's a skill. Like, I'm so good at just getting rid of stuff and just not getting attached to it. And then I look at other people and they're like, I can't throw that away. And I'm like, it's from 2004. It's a t-shirt. So that must be cool.
That's the funny thing about buying the house this year is that we had to start reaccumulating.
It's the opposite.
It's funny. We've had people come to our house here in Spain and they say things like, wow, when you get ready to decorate, I'll go shopping with you. And we look at them and say, we are decorated.
We've kept that rather minimalist attitude. Apparently they don't like the idea of the backpacks in every corner. So yeah.
No, I agree. It's going to be a different thing for me as well when I head back to New Zealand in September. And if I ever do get a place, I definitely want to have a base as of next year. It's going to be funny as well. What's that fine line between still living a minimalist life, which I love, and not having too much stuff, and also obviously having a place that doesn't look completely abandoned and like it's just a little suitcase in the corner, which I stay packed up in. So talk us through how you literally, you know, have a profitable business and can live this lifestyle purely off your writing, or are there other areas as well that, you know, make you money? What are the sort of revenue streams that are going on in your business?
Well, our main revenue stream is books, and we're very fortunate that you know, we both have business backgrounds. We have 4 books out. We're pretty good at this self-publishing thing by now, and I think the reason that we're successful in this is that we take it seriously. We treat it like a business. You know, we're not just throwing up a bunch of blog posts as a book on the internet. I mean, we have a designer for the cover. We take the marketing plan seriously. We do the book tour. I think that's the, you know, kind of the secret sauce there.
Yeah, we have a marketing budget, and we also make very we spend a lot of time thinking about all the decisions relative to the business, because, you know, how we're going to communicate, how we're going to publish, whether we go self-publishing or traditional publishing. We've had long conversations about those, and we run all the numbers, and it becomes a financial conversation. We have deep business meetings. We have planning meetings every month, and then planning meetings every year. And so, I mean, it's, you know, for us, it's how you do that. But we're very fortunate when we live. We happen to be alive at a time when self-publishing is not only, I mean, it's always been possible, but it is profitable, and it is highly profitable in comparison to traditional publishing. And the more you work at it, and the more you interact, and the more you understand how to promote your books, the better it is. And so I think for us, we just happen to live at a fortunate time period. And on the flip side, I will say that we have figured out how to travel around the world relatively cheaply. I mean, you know what it's like. Once you get out there, you throw away all these preconceived notions about it costing so much money. We could have never done this and lived on this money if we had still lived in the US. It was just, it was too expensive.
Oh, yeah. We live on a fraction of what we used to. But I also think the point that where we're successful is that we do treat this like a business. We have deliverables. We have deadlines. We meet people all the time that are traveling, and they want to start a business. They want to do something, but they're not willing to say, I'm going to have this project ready by the 16th of next month or January 1st or whatever that date is. And they don't work back from that. They just say, I'm working on my app. I'm working on my book. I'm working on, whatever service product it is. You have to be disciplined enough to create those deadlines, to stick to them, and to know what you need to do to backfill up to that deadline. And I think that's where we've been really successful with this.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think that whenever you are going after a key component in your business, like for us, it happens to be books, the issue is remaining committed to that business over time. And I think that we have done a really, really good job of remaining committed to it, even in the tough times. I mean, early on, it was really difficult. You know, you're starting to gain traction as an author. You're starting to gain traction in the words. Your writing is improving at the same time you're trying to make money, but you're constantly moving forward. And I think that we really stayed committed to our business throughout all of that.
And I think the last thing that I'll mention is the network. Just because you're traveling around the world and you don't have a community around you, you don't have people at the water cooler or whatever people gather around at the office, you have to develop those relationships. You have to have a network, and you have to call on them to, for help and offer help to them. It's really important in this digital age to have a digital network of people, which hopefully you can meet them in your travels as well. But you can't do it alone. And if you think you can, you will soon be proven wrong.
And Natalie, you know this because you've had to make a choice. When you decided to go out on the road, your business had to go with you. I mean, you've created the suitcase entrepreneur to work within your lifestyle, not vice versa. And that's the piece that is different, is that we could go and we could do speaking engagements. We could create a consulting arm. We could do all these elements, but none of them fit our lifestyle. So that's not our life, right? We will speak and we will go to speaking conferences, but it will exist within the concept or within the confines of our travels. So if we happen to go to the US and there's a conference, we will apply and see if we can get it. But we're not going to start restructuring our lives and get back into the life that we were at before, just so we can, it's too weird of a cycle. We love the life that we have. We live in Spain for 6 months of the year. We love it. And it just so happens it's a town in the middle of nowhere where we're not going to get a lot of speaking gigs. And those are
but you can write a lot of books.
That's right.
Drink a lot of wine.
The choices that we make in life. So
yeah, and I think it's really, really important to be clear on that whenever you start a business, knowing how it fits with your lifestyle, because otherwise you just end up creating the same life you just left, although you have to fly a whole lot more than you did before to get where you're going for work.
Yeah, you're so right. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I'm the same. This year I've held my Build Your Online Business workshops around the world wherever I've been traveling. I've been like, if it's a main city, I'll hold a workshop. And if there's enough, interest, then I'll run one. And the same for speaking. Like, look, I'm coming to this town. There are some events going on. If it fits and they want me to speak, great, I'll do that. But I totally agree. You can get caught up in that. And suddenly I found myself flying to all sorts of different places, which has been amazing, but not necessarily the best travel itinerary I've ever had in terms of crossing time zones. And I did think at one point, I was like, wow, am I doing this for myself, for my community, or for others? And, often it's a combination of both. But I really love that you're very clear on this has to fit into our lifestyle. This is what we love doing. And if it works, then great, we're totally there. I really love that. And that's why I always talk about coming back to a painted picture. So what's the vision for your life and business? And the clearer you are on that and actually laying it all out, the more you will just make it happen. And as you say, not revert back to what you had in the other country you're in, because you're so clear on how you want to live your life. So I love that. And I'm super impressed that you've, you just totally have built a business around being authors. I'm super impressed. I should grab some tips off you guys on how you've done so well with self-publishing, because I'm all over self-publishing and my book obviously has done really well. But, yours is so reasonably priced, from $4.99 up to $15.99. So once again, I'll link to them in the show notes. But that's super impressive. And you've obviously got a continual online marketing plan of outreach and publicity and media, not only on your own site with your videos and your podcast and your blog, but being interviewed for other people's, just like mine. And that is obviously what keeps it all going and keeps this ticking as an ongoing business where people are just continuing to buy your books and learn about you.
Yeah, it's a business, and as you said, I mean, you articulated it correctly. We don't, think of ourselves. We're authors, but we also, there's a business element to it, and so we exist in that space. The creativity must go hand in hand with the marketing dollars the accounting dollars.
I think of us as indie publishers, whether it's our podcast or our books or our website or whatever we're doing. And I think you do have to look at yourself that way. Not only that, you can't depend on your own audience to support you. I mean, I think, we do have a large audience, but I think if we had to depend solely on the people who read our website and podcast, we would not make as much money as we do. And you have to go out and look for those people who are going to buy your product.
Right. And find them and do the same things you would do. Treat it like any business that you would have with marketing yourself and communicating, and I find that then, it takes a lot of hard work and we're always trying to change it, and we don't have the answers, but we are searching for them and trying as many things as we can.
Oh, we are definite experimenters.
Oh,
definite.
damn straight.
I love that. I totally love that. And to finish off, I guess people were probably listening and inspired and engaged would probably love to know what's next up with the Married with Luggage couple. Like, obviously you have a pretty clear vision of living in Spain for 6 months of the year, but if you got obviously more books on the horizon, what are you excited about coming up in the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, what we're really excited about is this new series that we're launching called Married with Luggage Live. And we're doing a monthly chat in depth with somebody who is an expert on some aspect of love, sex, romance, being together, working together.
I've been promoting getting a lot of sex experts. That's been my personal mission. Yeah.
He has an agenda.
I think if we have 11 of those and then another person, it's fine.
That's one thing we're really excited about. And that's another thing for people to think about who are entrepreneurs is that your main business can be one thing, but there are so many offshoots that come from that. Mm-hmm. And this is something we're really excited about doing. People have asked us for more in-depth information and we're able to provide it. So yeah, that's the thing I'm most excited about on the business front. But on the traveling front, we are planning a 300-kilometer hike here in Spain in September, and then we are going to India and Nepal next year. So
or South America. We don't know.
Well, you keep throwing that in there, but anyway. So lots of exciting things going on for us for sure.
And next, we'll spend the next 18 months focusing on this book that we have now and promoting it and marketing it and talking to people about it and telling people as much as possible about, what we learned about love while traveling the world. And then in the future, we will start, but we've already started working on the next book. It always is there.
Yeah, we already have notes and
research. Never stop coming. So we've already begun the early stages of that, but we're going to spend 18 months gelling that together and making sure that our fifth is better than our fourth.
I love that. And you'll have to tell me about your plans for India because that's been on my bucket list for a long time. So maybe I can meet you guys there. And
that sounds great.
Yeah, definitely, since we all like drinking wine. Not sure what the wine's like in India, but hey.
We can always find a place.
Where is the best place for people to find you and reach out to you and say hello?
You can find us at marriedwithluggage.com. There's the books, the podcast, Facebook, all kinds of good stuff, links right from there.
Yeah, and all of our contact information, every email, every Twitter, everything you ever wanted to know about us and were afraid to ask is there. So please don't be shy. Send us emails. Send us
As you know, Warren likes to talk.
Send it to me, and or Betsy will filter it over. So.
It's been a blast having you on the Suitcase Entrepreneur podcast. So thank you so much for giving up your time, spending your romantic happy hour with us. And I'm absolutely sure people are going to love you and your books. Definitely pick up a copy of Married with Luggage. I'm going to. I mean, I'm not in love yet, but, I can always prepare. And thank you once again. It's been great.
Thank you, Natalie.
It's a true pleasure. Thank you very much.
I really hope you enjoyed the wonderful Betsy and Warren. I love their energy, I love their story, and I love their advice for how to live a life that you love as a couple, and also to consider when you need to slow down, when you need more time together, and how to balance out work and pleasure with fun adventures. If you want to do more of this for yourself, if you haven't worked out your freedom plan in life and business, then please type in suitcaseentrepreneur.com/freedom plan from your mobile or from your laptop and get yourself on the VIP list for my upcoming world first 6-week online program designed to give you the absolute blueprint for creating a profitable business that suits your lifestyle and, of course, a lifestyle of freedom that you love. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast week in, week out, especially those of you who were at the recent podcast movement in Dallas, Texas. It was so inspiring to meet up with community members and just to get reinvigorated about the whole tool of podcasting. And I'm going to be sharing some great interviews on here in the upcoming months about how you can use podcasting yourself, because after spending that weekend with some of the podcasting greats and getting their takeaways at their keynotes and their workshops, I'm just super excited about this tool and the future of it. And once again, I just am so thankful that you guys tune in every single week. Turns out many of you who tune in don't even know what I look like after meeting several people at the podcast movement. So please come across to suitcaseentrepreneur.com/live. You can find all my podcast past episodes as well as the future ones there. You can subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher if you haven't already. But more importantly, you can kind of see what I look like so you know who this crazy girl is who comes to you every single week. Rock on, have an amazing week, and remember to choose freedom.